Right, guys, we need to talk about something. Let's be real about this. Look, I know media is changing. The way media is being delivered to people also changes through time. But if there comes a point in life that media has to be preserved, it is done with the best ways possible, by using hard drives, by using anything physical to keep this sort of media so that you actually know that it's yours. That you really have ownership of something unique, a copy of something. Okay? It's just proof that it's actually going to be yours, right? But what happens if it's taken away from you? Worse, what happens if it's actually because licenses are being revoked? You know, this is the dystopia of today's world, in which live services can get taken away from you, especially as you have invested shit into it so much that you think you would actually be able to own it just because you have an account. You see, the thing is, if some of those live services, especially those who are bought, are going to be taken away from you, it's like you're being stripped of your own ownership. Just because the ones who made that piece of media says so. You will lose it. You will lose that thing, whether you like it or not. And I hate this kind. I really, really hate this kind of shit. I really do. Now, I'm looking at a video from Yongya on YouTube. Ubisoft steal the crew from players' libraries after shutting down servers and revoking license. This is the thing about this. It's been talked about for a long time, and since Ubisoft had actually gone through with it, players have gone mad on this. We're now, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in the dystopia of the live service being the only reason that you actually get entertained. And if AAA gaming turns into full live service bullshit, we are doomed to actually live our lives to only be pleased by things we do not own. And it gets taken away from you the moment the company gets so fat and greedy. That is the only thing that matters to them. Money. They don't care about their own customers. They don't care about their own loyal subjects. They don't really care about it. All they care is greed. That is the only thing they care about. Media preservation, their terms? No, there's no media preservation here. We're moving on. Fuck you. Just screw you and whatever your policy is when it comes to this. Because the thing I really treasure most is ownership of things. And this, taking it away just because they own the servers? Bullshit. The crew is not even remotely offline. It has to be always online, but there are offline challenges being done, there are offline races being done, but you have to log into the crew every freaking time. This is just bad. This world is doomed. Really doomed. Let's listen to the details. I mean, the crew, I haven't played it, but it is so huge. Why not give that to the people? Why not give that to those who want to actually see how it goes with this game? They don't wanna, because they don't want others to steal it. I mean, Need for Speed World, that has been given a chance. Thank God. My God. Of course this is going to happen one way or another. This is a dystopian future, and I'm watching this.
Back in January of 2024, a Ubisoft executive infamously said that gamers should start to become comfortable with the idea of not owning their games, because this individual wants to push for a future where subscription becomes the key driver of how customers consume games.
Subscription should be a key driver It should be a key driver to consume games. You know, it's like he's saying that he wants to get more money and he wants to have these named after microtransactions. Fuck you, whoever you are, for actually quoting that, and fuck you for actually telling us in our faces that we don't deserve your own game. It's like you're saying we don't even deserve your own game offline at all. Fuck you. Disgusting, this guy.
Here's what he specifically said. One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. You don't lose your progress, he claimed. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't lose what you've built in the game or your engagement with the game.
That's the thing. If you want to actually shift to a future where only servers actually save games at all, who's to say that you will not change it? Who's to say that you will not take it away from us? That's not the problem, my friend. The problem is if you shut yourself down, you won't be able to deliver us our own game that we actually bought from you. So literally, it is theft. We should sue you for actually... Oh my god. This is not even an argument. You're literally stealing what we bought. You're literally stealing what we bought.
So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. This is him trying to sell us on the benefits of an all-digital future for games, except that for progress to carry over, you don't need games to be all digital. You just do that through cloud saves, which you can apply to physical media as well. So that argument is already pretty moot. And then here's the real kicker that is especially relevant for today's video. As people embrace that model, they'll see that these games will exist. The service will continue, and you'll be able to access them when you feel like. That's reassuring. That is perhaps one of the worst aged quotes in the history of gaming.
Let me just say that again, because I literally am just texting someone because there's a need for me to communicate for good reason here.
As people embrace that model, they'll see that these games will exist. The service will continue, and you'll be able to access them when you feel like. That's reassuring.
God. What you don't really see as a factor is if you decide to turn off the service, what happens to that same access that you say is actually still available for people? Once the services are off, the access will not be, there will be no accessibility. That's the thing that you did not actually see, huh? You did not see that coming? Huh? You decide to move on. You would decide eventually to move on this shit, and you would actually steal away something that players own. You know, this is a dystopia that the likes of you had created. This is the dystopia that the likes of you had created to make sure that people are subscribing to the games that they play instead of just owning them. I call that complete bullshit. And I call what you're doing changing society for the worst. This is the worst thing that can happen to pieces of media that we own. And you're just actually saying that people should get comfortable with not owning. Bullshit. Why do you even get employed at all? What is the world making you? I mean, just sucks, man.
That is perhaps one of the worst aged quotes in the history of gaming, given what's going on right now with Ubisoft's The Crew. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a racing game series that launched all the way back in 2014. And since its launch, this game has always been an always online experience. And the way that the developers try to justify this is that it's a bit like World of Warcraft, where it's meant to be a very social experience, but the game does have a single player campaign that many would correctly argue should not require an online connection. And
that's right. Look, GTA 5 unfortunately has become that. Only a live service. You cannot launch the game without getting online. And then you get offline, and then you can finally enjoy the single player experience. Regardless, what they're doing is wrong. Restricting access only when you are online. What does that, what are you actually signifying? Poor people who don't have internet don't fucking deserve your games? Go fuck yourself. Whoever is making that standard at all, I have the worst wishes for them for this. In regards to taking away actual physical ownership of something just because it is just beneficial to only them. I have the worst wishes for these types of people. Do not get me started. Do not get me started. Do not make me bullet point what my worst wishes are for them.
And so the fear was that one day when Ubisoft decides to pull the plug on the Crew, this game will be lost forever, and that people's purchases of this game would become completely invalidated. And that's precisely what's happened 10 years after launch. So it all began back in December of 2023 when the Crew was removed from sale. It was announced that servers would shut down on March 31st, 2024. Here's what Ubisoft said on that front. We understand this may be disappointing for players still enjoying the game, but it has become a necessity due to upcoming server infrastructure and licensing constraints. Decommissioning a game, and especially our first one, is not something we take lightly. You're not just decommissioning a game, you're taking a piece of media from somebody's library that they've purchased and stripping that away from them.
You know, people would not mind if it's a free-to-play game, but if this was actually bought by people and the actual company who actually made it does not care anyway, like they don't give a damn about the people who are just consuming the product. There's a boycott coming. The Crew 2 will be boycotted. Yes. There will be, and I am going to actually make it very, very obvious. There will be a boycott of Ubisoft game titles because of this thing. This should not have happened. There are plenty of things that you can do to make sure that you're at least able to do something about the Crew. You have plenty of time. You had a decade to make an offline infrastructure so that people are going to enjoy your game regardless after the server shut down. Go fuck yourself, Ubisoft. Seriously, go fuck yourself. This is no longer just this is no longer just a distinction between live service and physical media. This is tyranny. This is actual tyranny happening in a dystopian age. We're living in a dystopia, people. We're living in a dystopia.
It's just straight up robbery that's more legally flexible because it's digital instead of physical. And that's an aspect that the games industry has never had any issues with, that they've always taken very lightly, too lightly. Ubisoft continues, our goal remains to provide the best action-driving gameplay experience for players and to deliver on it. We're continuing to provide new content and support for the Crew 2 and the recently launched The Crew Motorfest. So basically, go spend money on our other The Crew games while we just straight up, without your consent, take the first game that you purchased away from you.
Yeah, they got the nerve. They got the nerve to tell you to go play our other games. Fuck you. Wow. Wow. This is what you're going to tell us? Forget about the Crew. Play the Crew 2. Play the Crew Motorfest. Fuck you. every single title you have under your belt should be boycotted. No, really.
And as PC Gamer correctly points out, while the crew is multiplayer focused, it does offer a single player campaign, which you should be able to play by yourself by definition. By rights, losing online functionality, no impact on that aspect of the game.
Exactly.
Yet, here we are. And sure, not a whole lot of people were playing the crew by the time it got commissioned, but it is the principle of the thing. Game ownership should not be treated like an extended rental, reads this PC Gamer article, which I wholly agree with. What kind of precedent are we setting if we don't speak out about this? What kind of precedent are we setting if we keep letting companies get away with stuff like this? And the old saying goes, you give companies an inch, they'll take a mile, they'll take everything. Like, there are people out there who still own physical copies of really obscure movies that very few people watch. It doesn't give the people who made that movie the right to break in and take that piece of media away. Just
exactly.
Not a lot of people watch it anymore. If somebody wants to be able to access obscure old media content that they purchased, they should be able to, no matter what. It shouldn't be up to anyone else to decide that except for the individual who bought the product.
Exactly.
Removing the crew from sale and then shutting down servers for an online-only game, rendering it unplayable, was a bad enough look. Well, Ubisoft decided to take it to the next level. Now, before we get to that, let's...
Wait, what?
Well...
Removed from sale, become unplayable after April 1. We understand this may be disappointing for players still enjoying the game.
I don't mind.
Really, yeah.
Ubisoft...
You know what they did? They even removed the actual files. They actually removed the actual files. They actually deleted it straight. As long as they have access to the launcher, as long as they have access to the client that actually launches the crew, they could do that. And bullshit, they just did.
I've decided to take it to the next level. Now, before we get to that, let's talk about something that's a good look, like decorating your space with atmospheric and ambient lighting. Which brings us to the sponsor of today's video, EliteLenny, makers of awesome lighting products. To get 10% off. All right, so it first began with the crew being removed from sale, being delisted from storefronts. Then it became them shutting down servers for an online-only game. But the situation got much worse when people began to realize that Ubisoft was also stripping people's licenses for the crew weeks after its shutdown, meaning that the game is no longer just unplayable. It also means that those who bought legitimate copies of the crew are not able to download and install the game. Now, you may be wondering, why would you want to download and install the game if the game is already unplayable when the servers have been shut down? Well,
because there's still single player. There was still a single player campaign that you can play, and that's no longer playable too. That is why this is a big problem. They're literally stealing what you bought.
Because there's the opportunity for fans to kickstart their own servers through their own efforts and mods and you name it.
I mean, Need for Speed World was given hopes after the shutdown of the actual official servers. Yes, that's what happened. Need for Speed World was given new hope because private servers were made, mods were being made. Seriously, they've done a good job of actually trying to preserve the game as much as possible. Need for Speed World is a game that cannot be forgotten easily. Alright? Unlike Ubisoft, who's actually just focusing on sales for the Crew 2 and the Crew Motorfest, they don't give a single fuck about people who just want to experience some nostalgia. Why not let them experience nostalgia? Is it bad for the health? Come on, Ubisoft. If it's bad for the health, if nostalgia is bad for the health, why didn't you off yourself? You experienced nostalgia yourself. Why didn't you off yourself? Oh my god.
Ubisoft is even trying to squander those possibilities for a video game that they're no longer supporting, that they're no longer profiting off of. They don't even want the people who legitimately purchased the game to have the opportunity to engage with the title through private servers and kind of take matters into their own hands. Ubisoft is doing everything in their power to wipe the Crew 1 out of existence, to try to essentially erase it from gaming history, and certainly to erase it from any semblance of customer ownership. This could have been mitigated with a patch that allowed players to, at the very least, continue to access the single player component of the game while the multiplayer functionalities are shut down. But they're straight up making the game inaccessible by revoking the license of the game. People discover that when they try to access the Crew through Ubisoft Connect, they're greeted with a message that reads, "You no longer have access to this game. Why not check the store to pursue your adventures?"
Go fuck yourself, Ubisoft. Just go fuck yourself.
Which is such an insulting message. It might as well say, hey, we just robbed you, but want to spend more money on our other games?
Yeah, Ubisoft, you want us to spend? No, go fuck yourself, Ubisoft. I'm going to boycott every fucking title that I actually bought from you, but you actually might be able to steal from us. And every other title that is actually new, regardless if it's coming from the Crew or any other title that I love, if I love that franchise and you actually done something bad to one of the games, you're gonna get boycotted. Straight up boycott. People are gonna straight up boycott Ubisoft for this.
After we robbed you, there's also now a section in players' libraries called inactive games, which the Crew has been moved to. Now, if you do own a Steam copy, you are able to still download the game, but if you attempt to play it and access it, you are essentially greeted with a pop-up message that states that you need to input a game key. And you can see screenshots of this posted online. So on Reddit right here, here's somebody who posted a screenshot of the message that appears when you try to access the Crew following the shutdown of the servers, and after Ubisoft decided to revoke the Crew license across the board. You no longer have access to this game. Why not check the store to pursue your adventures? And then here we have a screenshot of what happens when you try to access the game on Steam. You can download the game, but when you try to run it, it says right here that you need to enter your CD key or activation code, which indicates that the license has been revoked. Now on Steam, at least you can still download the game files, so if fans want to endeavor to mod the game in such a way where it can run fan servers or private servers, then perhaps there's a possibility there. But the point is that Ubisoft is making such an endeavor as difficult as possible, despite the fact that the Crew 1 is a game that Ubisoft has decided to nuke and no longer support and no longer profit from in any way, shape, or form. News outlets tried to reach out to Ubisoft for a comment about this whole situation, and Eurogamer got a response, except it's basically the same response they've already given, the same PR statement that reads, "While we understand this may be disappointing for players, it was necessary due to server infrastructure and licensing constraints."
Ubisoft is just full of robots and message pushing motherfuckers that they do not care about the people who support them. They do not care about the people who are consuming their product. They do not care about the people who are giving a damn about their progression in this world. And they do not give a damn about the people who know their future. Considering that the actual future is bright. If only Ubisoft had listened more to people, they wouldn't be doing this. But no. You know what they're listening to? You know what they're listening to? Oh, let's not be surprised. Money. They always listen to money. That's it. They always just listen to money right from the beginning. As long as they keep rubbing the paper right near their ears, they always just listen to money. They do not care. Boycott the fuck out of Ubisoft. We need this game company shut down right now.
Just typical PR speak that is completely apathetic. And talk about an understatement, this isn't just disappointing disappointing people. It's pissing them off, especially from a company whose executives are saying that we should feel comfortable about not owning our games, promising that we'll see that these games will continue to exist, that the service will
Oh, the services and the games will continue to exist through live service. Oh, what happened to the crew? We shut it down. I'm going to say it again, Ubisoft. Go fuck yourself.
continue, and that you'll be able to access them when you like, shortly before a situation like the crew happens that highlights exactly why you should never feel comfortable about not owning your games, because those games will not exist forever. The services will not continue, and you will not be able to access them when you like, and all of your progress will be deleted. Your access to the game will be denied. That is the kind of future we're paving the road to. If an all-digital future, an all-cloud-based gaming future, completely unregulated, becomes the norm. Even more insulting is that some of Ubisoft's most recent launches that are single-player games mandate an online connection before installation. So Star Wars Outlaws
the Star Wars Outlaws Physical Edition will require an online connection to install. That makes me very much lose interest in even buying this game. So go fuck yourself, EA. Go fuck yourself. You are like Ubisoft. You are like the other major companies who are actually making games requiring online connections just to play single-player bullshit. You are seriously giving yourself a fuck you. People are gonna keep giving you fuck yous.
For example, will require an online connection to install. And the same thing happened for Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, whose physical version required a one-time internet connection.
People like Avatar, the Frontiers of Pandora. Okay, I mean, no, not the game itself, but the actual title. The actual title and the series. The Avatar, there's Avatar itself, the original film. And then there is Avatar, I don't know what the second one is. Way of Water, if I'm right. Way of Water, yeah, that's the second one. Look, they like that. They like that as long, even if it didn't have that much potential to actually snowball so fast. It still had a lot of potential to just keep shit going. Okay? Now, for the actual game to require you to go online just to play a single player game is complete dog shit to me and completely foreign of what a normal single player game should be. You are not required to go online if you're going to play a single player game. You know, if shutting down games like this is the new form of enjoying the live service,
just let me fall to my groove.
piracy is the new form of saving media that people no longer have access to. And let's just be real about it. I'm not going to continue this video because I'm so pissed off. I just really want to say it. Start pirating everything. They're taking away everything that you love. They're taking away everything that you want. Everything that you want. They're going to take even what you own. Pirate everything. No questions asked.